Martha's Vineyard was not what I expected. My assumption was Lake of the Ozarks for people from Manhattan. Instead, what I found was one of the most naturally scenic, historically rich, architecturally pleasing, and welcoming destinations I have ever visited. I left feeling a strange connection to a place I didn't have high expectations for. That's the opening paragraph to my newspaper column that I wrote when I got back from turkey hunting on Martha's Vineyard. I was able to ride out there with former podcast guest and good friend Johnny Graham from Missouri to Martha's Vineyard, where we had been planning for a few years to do this turkey hunt. Nothing turned out the way I expected it would, and it turned into one of the best turkey hunts of my life, and I can't wait to talk about it. I'm Brandon Butler.
I'm Nathan Shags McLeod.
I'm Johnny Graham with Revel Catering.
I'm Brett Stearns, Director of the Natural Resources Department for the Wampanoag tribe of Gayhead Aquinnah here on Martha's Vineyard.
And welcome to the Drifted Outdoors podcast. So let's get right into this hunt, man. I haven't got to hear about it or anything yet.
Well, first of all, we got to say Missouri's loss is Martha's Vineyard's gain. So Johnny, many people recognize he had the place in the Opera House right down on High Street across from the Capitol. Long time, Missouri man about town down that way, and Missouri native. And finally, after a long time of splitting life between Martha's Vineyard, I now say things like the Vineyard, so you're gonna have to just take that in, Shags, as we have this conversation. After 3 days, I belong to the island now. So he's out there on the Vineyard full time, and he's told me for years about these turkeys that'll strut in the streets of Martha's Vineyard, and I'm like, man, I don't know, coming out there and shooting a yard bird out of a little community doesn't sound too great. And he's like, no, it's not going to be like that. And again, I pictured houses like squeezed together. I don't know what I had in my mind. I just knew it was rich people. So I was thinking like Jersey Shore, Lake of the Ozarks, something like that. And most of the island is wild. It's just jungle thick in the forest. There were moments where I thought I was in Last of the Mohicans. There's these giant glacial rocks, these stone walls. There's history behind. All the houses are architecturally aligned, so they're very much like square and rectangular architecture with cedar shake siding. So everything looks, aesthetically similar, and it's beautiful because of that. So the whole place was like a natural destination that just happens to be inhabited by some of the wealthiest and most recognized people on the planet. So there's such a dichotomy there. But what's so cool is they don't bring the flash either, at least not anything that I saw. It's very much a place where anybody can go and just kind of commingle. And I completely understand why Johnny made the move out there. So I guess before we get into the details of the hunt, like we got to talk about some of the buildup. And Johnny, a little bit of your backstory for people that want to know the whole backstory. Go back and listen to the episodes with Johnny. But like the Martha's Vineyard part, like how did you end up a guy from Jefferson City, Missouri, going out to the Vineyard?
There's those occasional moments in your life that you look back on and realize that what some small choice you made totally changed the trajectory. That happened to me right after culinary school. It wasn't supposed to be after culinary school. I was taking a little break. I had a job on a fishing boat in Alaska. Actually, and I went to Seattle and was literally waiting for my ship to come in to get on the boat. It turns out that they were having the boat that I had been hired by was having such a great season. The chef decided to stay on. So when I left San Francisco, when I was in culinary school, to go make money so I could go back to school, I kind of put it all out there, gambled, and lost. And then I was basically jobless and homeless in Seattle when a friend of mine, who I remembered saying that he was, going to go back to Martha's Vineyard for the summer, he called to see how I was doing. I was like, I'm not really doing that great, I kind of told him the situation, and he invited me out here. Now, being a kid from Missouri, 20 years old. This is before really the presidents started hanging out here. I don't know where the hell Martha's Vineyard was. I'd heard of a band in Australia called Martha's Vineyard, but he invited me out here. That was last week of June that I talked to him and called my dad. He bought me a plane ticket, and yeah, it was the summer. I guess I was 21, and I came out here just for that summer. And it turned out to be, I don't know what my life would have been had I not gotten that call, or had I, the chef not gotten off that fishing boat. But it wouldn't have been this life that I've been lucky to lead. So I've been coming back and forth between here and Missouri, here in LA for a little while, for ever since then. And Missouri's always home, but I've said to everybody in both places that Martha's Vineyard is as much home as Missouri is. And I've got so many more lifelong connections here. That's kind of how I wound up here. Just been lucky, and some of the great people I've met, like Brett, like so many of my friends out here that I've met and had such great history with. That it's just brought me to a great place today.
Yeah, man, and it's very, very clear in a 3-day time period that you've done an amazing job of integrating into the island community. I mean, the people that you were able to get access onto their land and how kind they were. The whole environment was just nothing but friendly. We got to go into people's homes and be welcomed right in. I mean, I ended up, after sleeping in some unique accommodations, I got welcomed into Brett's home. Like, I got offered a bed. Brett doesn't know it, but I've already marked that as my new place to hang out. I'm coming back.
It's all good.
Yeah, so I can see so easily now why you want to be there. And don't forget to mention, while we're turkey hunting, Johnny gets a call from a former ambassador to a major European country who wants him to be a chef at a dinner party. It's like this guy is having phone calls with the people that are above the high people. It's pretty incredible. So, Brett, you've got another amazing story of coming to the island. You're a Boston native. Were you a Southie?
I grew up north of Boston, a town called Chelmsford, and I went to a really small environmental college, Unity College in Maine, and I went there. My goal in my study was conservation law enforcement, to be a game warden, and I ended up here by chance as well. I met. I was at a conference. I don't even remember why. My senior year. And I met a gentleman up there who was having a conversation in a hallway, and I had no business talking to him, but of course I sat around, listened, and joined in. And his name is Matthew Vanderhoop, and he was talking. He was the natural resource director for the tribe, and he was discussing how they were having issues with visitor management. They have the tribe owns the beautiful Gayhead Cliffs in Aquinnah. It's a natural clay deposit, which is visible to everyone who comes here. Millions of years exposed directly to the ocean. And they were having issues with people coming and using the clay, putting it on their body, digging out clay baths. And so he was talking about it openly. And I butted in and said, well, you should just, create a, program like National Park Service, and you should have law enforcement personnel enforce it. I'm sure it's protected by, the federal government or the state, and you should just make a ranger program. And, we talked for a little bit, and then he called me up weeks later, at the one, we used to have the one phone booth in the dorm, it's before cell phones for those of you who are my age.
From Goodwill Hunting.
And he offered me to come out, and I went back and forth, and I didn't really know if I should do it. And the thing that actually put me over the top is he told me that his brother is a renowned striped bass fisherman, and during our talks, he knew that I was a fly fisherman. And I remember he said, have you ever caught a striped bass on a fly? And I said, no, I haven't, as a matter of fact. I said, it's a bit of a bucket list. And he said, I guarantee you a 36-inch striped bass on a fly if you come down here. And he didn't lie. I changed all my plans. I came down, and I've been here ever since. And that was I landed here in May of 1994. I came here, and I've been here ever since. And I've worked for the tribe for over 30 years. I've worked for the organization for over 30 years, and now I serve as the director of natural resources.
Can you still promise those 36 inches on a fly rod? Because I might book my trip right now.
I think Shag's applying for a job.
36. It's a little tough, but I'll tell you, we can make some margins there. But I can get you those fish on a fly for sure.
So he has a live cam in a stream right off of a harbor where
We
the
do.
striped bass come in. We had them up in Indiana on the St. Joe, watching steelhead come up the St. Joe River. So it's similar where they can watch these fish come up in. So Brett, you'll have to tell us when it's going, and we'll share the link so people can watch the live stream of them
Right
coming in.
now, the herring are running right now. We just had a full moon. They're going in and out now. This is the hot time of year to watch it.
All right, we'll share that link on our social medias. So, well, as the natural resources director there on the island, what is the take on turkeys for residents? And to put this in perspective, Dukes County in Massachusetts is Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, that whole coastal area. In 2016, they checked in one spring turkey. In 2024, they checked in 25. So there is an explosion of growth in turkey hunting happening in Dukes County. We're certainly going to add to it. I've already had emails about my newspaper column. But we took 3 birds in 2 days. We hunted 3 days, but Brett only hunted for like 45 minutes, but Johnny and I hunted for 3 days. Chags, you're gonna love this story. This is like the Uncle Steve 2.0. Like it's a good story. So what's I just want to kind of set the table on what the turkeys are like on Martha's Vineyard from a natural resources perspective.
Well, remember, I work for the tribe, so the turkeys are a sustenance food. So tribal citizens don't require state licenses, and they can harvest at any time that they want. So it doesn't matter the season. So
Do they do that?
sure,
Oh, okay.
yeah. It's sustenance food, just like deer, just like any other edible species. Saltwater, freshwater fish. Yeah, it's a sustenance food. So we don't, from the tribal perspective, we don't look at it in terms of seasons or age or sex. It's food.
So there are turkey hunters on the island. They all just from that community. So I found my people to hang out with next time I come back.
But it is interesting on the island. You can be in downtown Tisbury, and you literally have to push them away with a broom to get where you're going. But there and it. I can't really say why it's not, harvested the way that it is in other places. I think there's, first of all, it happens in the spring hunt. People are thinking about fish. I think that's part of it. The stripers just start coming in. The herring are here, and people have fish on their mind. They've waited all winter, and so that may be part of it. But they're plentiful. But it's interesting why it's not a more utilized season, and that's why I thought it was great. It's funny. I thought to myself when Johnny called me and said, "Hey, let's go turkey hunting," I was like, "Yeah, I guess we could do that. That'd be fun." Like
You've
I
lived
don't
there 30 years. You've been there 30 years.
I typically don't. It's just not. It's just not something I participate in. Look, I teach the hunter safety program here. I have for 20 plus years. I hunt deer, duck. It's just not something that I had done out here. So this was a really fun trip for me. To spend time with these guys was amazing enough. Beautiful mornings. Really enjoyable time overall. But yeah, to harvest was fun.
That's awesome, man. So Well, I'll get into the actual journey and the hunt. So Johnny and I left. We met up at the St. Louis airport, took off, headed east under a rain cloud. I feel like we were in a cartoon where that same rain cloud, no matter what we did, we couldn't shake it. Like we were under that rain cloud all the way until we got to Connecticut. But we just drove straight through, like no restaurants or anything like that. You know, Johnny got us to about 9 o'clock at night. I took the 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. shift. He took back over. We got to Woods Hole where you catch the ferry. We got there about 4 hours early. Couldn't get on an earlier boat, so we walked around downtown.
How long was that drive?
It was about 21 hours. 20,
Yep.
yep, 21 hours.
Non-stop. You guys are
Straight
hardcore.
through. Yeah, we channeled our inner 21-year-olds.
Like, we're getting too old for this
I
nonsense.
know, dude.
fellas.
Johnny will
Exactly.
get a hotel, I think, but I was like, I can do it. Yeah, so we get to that town, and man, it was a beautiful community. I mean, that's what's so interesting. I've been to Delaware twice in the last couple of years. Went up to Maine, through Vermont, New Hampshire. Finally, in the last 3 years, I've got to experience New England, and I find it, I mean, charming. Like charming is the right word. It looks like something out of a movie. Like maybe they're just a little more grown up than we are out here in the wild, wild west because they're a couple hundred years older, but it just seems settled. And food is healthier, you know, but not any more expensive than you would pay in probably St. Louis. So it was just cool to walk that street, get a sandwich. We ended up in this, it was a outdoor media shop, but they do a few apparel items and stuff. And lady was super nice, gave me some of their magazines. I'll have to gear review it in an episode in the future because I can't remember the name of it, but it was just beautiful killing time until we get out to the island. We get out to the island, catch up with Johnny's partner Vicky and her two kids, and we're hanging out and just kind of getting settled in. Go to bed and get up. We're turkey hunting first morning. So Johnny has a spot at it's like a 10-acre yard. So it's surrounded by a wildlife area though, where it totally makes sense looking at a map that it would be a good spot. And he's like, I come out here and do private chef work for these folks. And when I'm on, this grill, there's always turkeys walking through the yard. There's turkeys around. So we literally set our blind up like in the backyard, and we've got our decoys out around the blind. And I'm thinking like, dude, this gives a whole new perspective of the yard bird. Like this is, and this guy's the CEO of major company, and everybody would recognize. I'm not going to say, but you would recognize it. And he gave us, Johnny just talked to him like, hey, can we set up a turkey tent in your backyard with some rubber chicken turkeys and try to shoot them? He's like, yeah, man, go for it. But then we didn't hear anything, and 4 pickup trucks came rolling in at like 7:45, and they're working around the pool like 100 yards from this tent with turkey decoys around it in the backyard. I'm just sitting there wondering, like, what are they thinking is going on out here in the backyard? So we peeled out of there, went and tried another place. It was kind of just a scouting day, and it ended up being that way, which was fine. Getting the lay of the land, moving around a few different properties. And then Johnny connects with this lady that's 14th generation on the island and has some incredible historic family property kind of on the interior of the island. And we got permission to go on there. We went out and checked it out, saw a bunch of sign, heard a couple birds, and then got out of there. You can only hunt till noon in Massachusetts, and you can't hunt on Sundays. So the next morning, Johnny's like, okay, I'm going to bring my friend Brett. I think you guys will like each other. I want you to meet him, and you two get in a blind together, and I've got to go to this men's group, so I'm going to sit back closer to the trucks. It was thunderstorming, so Brett and I are in this blind. We got the decoys set up. Heard a gobble a few times right off at sunrise. Johnny tells me he's leaving and confirmed that there were some gobblers up in those woods. So I'm sitting there with Brett for quite a while, and they knew that I was there for the 50 quest, and Brett was gonna graciously let me shoot first. And that turkey's back there gobbling though, and I'm like, man, I can't. Like, you know me, Shags. I just can't like sit there. If I gotta go, it's like I'm a hen getting called in. Like when they start gobbling, I start going. Like there's just I'd rather lose the game by getting too close than wait for them to come to me. So I tell Brett, like, hey man, I'm gonna go for that bird. I'm gonna go up and kill that bird. He's like, okay, I'm gonna stay down here. And I'm like, yeah, something comes in the field, kill it. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. So I'll move up this way. So I go into the woods maybe 100 yards and I call, and that turkey is hot, just 200 yards out, just hammers. I'm like, oh, this is going to work. So I move up maybe another 30 yards. And I mean, dude, this stuff is so thick that, I mean, I was putting my hands up over my face and just pushing forward through vine patches of like multiflora rose. Push through, get to this little opening. It looks like I just stepped onto the set of Last of the Mohicans. I mean, there's these giant glacial rocks. It looks like a rainforest. It's blowing up with like fluorescent green vegetation. I make a call. That turkey hammers at 100 yards. It's like, damn, he's dead. So now I move up maybe 20 more yards and I sit down in this little like rock outcropping. And I call again and he just gobbles so close it nearly rattles my eyeballs. And then so I'm up on my knee. I'm squinting down my gun. There's a deer trail that he's gonna come down. So as soon as he gobbled that last time, I quit. That at that point you don't want to talk to him anymore. You want them to come find you to close that last, distance into shooting. So I quit calling and I can kind of see it moving, just a faint like blob on the other side of that vegetation. I'm just on this spot where he's gonna show up. And then he should have showed up. And then he really should have shown up by now. And then what in the heck is bam? So when I quit calling, Brett started calling, pulled him right past me, and killed him at the bottom of the hill 100 yards down. So it's like that turkey was waiting for me to call one more time. I didn't do it. Brett did it. Right down the hill into the decoys. Goes straight for the Jake. Brett took some pictures of it and then shot it. So that was Uncle Steve redemption to the end of the earth.
You did a great job, by the way. Like,
Brett does have a sexy voice.
Brett's like, I'll take it from here. Thanks
mean,
for calling him 200 yards in. I'll take it from here.
Yeah, it's funny. I heard him gobbling, but I didn't hear you chasing him, and I didn't know where you were. And as a matter, and I sent a text photo of the turkey. I'm like, hey, hey, here he is.
So
I didn't know how long he was going to hang around, and I wasn't exactly sure where you are. And with a tremendous amount of guilt, I laid that thing out.
yeah. You did a heck of a job, man.
I can hear it in your voice.
So tell us what it was like though on that. I mean, that was your first turkey hunt. What did you think of the experience?
Well, I mean, being out there, I mean, like any hunting experience, and like I say, I've been a hunter safety instructor for a long time. I always tell everybody it's the best moments in your life to just sit quietly, sit in peace, and see things that you would otherwise not observe. And that's really why I do it. I've fallen asleep in a lot of great places. Just up in a tree, at the bottom of a tree, on the edge of the water. And so going out there in the morning with you, really fun. It was just really fun to meet you. It's always fun for me to meet like-minded people. I really enjoyed your company. I was really glad that you guys had set up a tent out there because it was pouring. But as we sat out there, we had those geese in the field first thing in the morning, and then geese flying overhead. We had several deer come out, and just peek an eye at those at the toms and at the Jake that we had out there and the hen. I love those moments, and to hear the gobbles in the background was exciting. I had no intention of I wouldn't have even brought a gun with me. I was there because I wanted this. We were all there to be on your team, and like so many other hunting experiences, it's enriching, and it captures a moment that you wouldn't otherwise have. I would have been, maybe I would have been fishing, but maybe you would have been home, making your coffee, and to when you put those two things side by side, you just can't miss it, right?
Yeah,
So,
man, you just said something that I hadn't thought of it that way, but it totally resonates now. It's like it did feel like everyone was on my team. And when you go to a lot of states, I think where hunting is so common, it's not like that. I think there was something unique about this to where, you and Johnny's family, like everybody was pulling for us, and then the landowners, as they started getting contacted and hearing about what we were doing, not only like said yes you can hunt, they all wanted to talk. We got
hmm
to talk uh down at the gas station. It's Marshall, right?
yeah,
Mark and Katie. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, and they were great. I mean, they were so nice. And then all the people that we got to meet, I don't want to use their names, but the landowners that were generous weren't only like come out and hunt. They were like, come in the house and see this and tell me about this. And so it felt like a community of people pulling for us to be successful. Like they were intrigued by hunting, and that made me feel really good about the way we were representing hunting, the way that they were viewing us. And Johnny was super cautious.
yeah.
He even called Brett is, police. He also called, I think, someone else and said we're going to be hunting in this area if you hear a gunshot. So like we were very preemptive and making sure that we didn't do anything that would offend somebody or cause any kind of stir. So I think we did a great job of representing it, and because of that, those people were on our team, and that I think is why I've left there feeling this special feeling about it was because of that.
Yeah, this is a hunting community. I mean, this is an outdoor community. People are on the water, in the woods. People come here and they want to live their lives here because they want to be part of each other, and but also part. I mean, nature is a huge part of where we are, even though it's not the same kind of nature that people get elsewhere. This isn't some boreal forest, but this is an outdoors life here.
Well, yeah, I mean, I should have said this a little earlier when we introduced you, but your family, your wife is, a very accomplished equestrian trainer, and your daughter is one of the most accomplished collegiate equestrians, maybe of all time. Like Shag, she's an analyst now for ESPN. She was, if you think about like the national basketball player of the year, that was Purdue 2 years in a row, just in the last couple of years. Just saying, um, she was that for horses. I mean, Brett can explain it better, but like those aren't city kids. Like those are outside people, and that's what surprised me so much about the island was everything seems to be orientated towards outdoor life.
Absolutely. There's no. I've never been in a place that's so. The opportunities to forage, whether it's hunting, fishing, collecting, scavenging in the woods for wild food and wild experiences, is really unparalleled here for any place I've ever been. I mean, the on the water alone, much less hunting. Uh, we have world class seafood literally at our back door. At any time of the year, there's something you can go. In the winter, where it's scallops or clams. In the summer, we've got all sorts of species of fish, lobsters and oysters, and it's ridiculous. The list would go on and on. Um, and then hitting the woods. I was lucky enough to harvest 3 deer this past season, where we got. We haven't got to that next, but the next part of the story,
Hmm.
and it's a lot of great opportunities here to do that, and it's a very natural place. So you just see the nature everywhere. And that's why we see turkeys walking across the crosswalks downtown, because downtown it's not one of high rises. It's nothing's built over the trees, and might be a little more congested than some of the areas up island, but there's no city here, so there are animals everywhere.
Even up island though, and by up island, that's more of the places where there's the shops and the restaurants and things like
Nope.
that. Like,
That's the Down Island.
oh, that's Down Island. Okay.
It's the northern part of the island, but we call it Down Island.
All right. Thank
Duh.
you. That part of the island, whatever you
We're
call
unique.
it, is still charming. Like, I'm sticking with that word. It is. It's like a charming community, and it's the best way I can explain it. But man, I'm glad Johnny chimed in, because we were getting to that part of the story where it's like, I'll tell you what's a great opportunity. A great opportunity is hunting with Johnny, so you can hand him the meat and get out of the way when it comes time to the kitchen. And I think Brett will testify. So Brett opened up his home. He's bacheloring it right now. His wife is in Florida training horses. His son is in Australia kicking it, and his daughter lives in Boston. So that's how I scored a bedroom there. And we go back to his home. I process the turkey, give it to Johnny. Tell us everything. It was an amazing meal. Just what all did you do with it? What all did we have for dinner that night?
What did we do? Yeah, that's right. You processed the thing, and then you guys went to put the turkeys to bed at our spot that we were gonna left me alone in the kitchen for a little while. We did a lemon scallopini with one of the turkeys. I feel like we did 2 preparations.
That night you pan fried, you like schnitzeled the turkeys,
Yep,
scallops, the spread that was for the turkeys.
all
and then,
natural stuff. Yeah, Brett had scored. Somebody had given Brett some wild scallops, bay scallops that we had an extension on the season here. So with that, and then some venison sausage from also from the same town, from Chilmark, that I'd gotten a few months before. Yeah, a great wild food spread.
talk about how you prepared that turkey, though, because I'll put all these pictures after this podcast comes out. I'll have all the pictures up from the trip so people can see the food.
Yeah, I pounded it out thin, and then I used some ancho chili dust, some fresh thyme, little garlic, little lemon zest, olive oil, and then just coated it in 3-stage breading and pan fried it like a schnitzel.
Man, it tasted too good to sound.
It's it's funny because
complicated.
If you ask anyone local here, they immediately people say, oh, they're too tough to eat. They're too tough to eat. I rarely. There's only a few circumstances where I've found that the animals really aren't all that edible, but that gets down to a minimum with Johnny around. But I mean, it was great. I mean, I've had wild turkey before. We've tried frying them and some other things, but I mean, this was perfect. It was delicious, and you would, if you had to play that game of would you know, you wouldn't know.
No, I just made yesterday. So jumping ahead, and we found ourselves with more wild turkey meat, but I just made a bunch of like a Mediterranean sort of turkey sausage with spinach and feta that came out great too. So.
Is that what you're gonna give as
Yes.
gifts?
That's correct. Yep. Pass that on to some of the landowners.
Yep. Which is another great tip to everybody. We had leftover. As we tell the rest of the story, we do end up with leftover turkey, and we said Johnny should make some of his specialty sausage out of it and gift it back to the landowner. So I'm sure they're gonna love it. So day 3, we're down to day 3 on a 3-day hunt. I didn't know you couldn't hunt on Sunday until I got there, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, Saturday's it." So we're down to the wire. We go back to where Brett Uncle Steved my turkey.
If you guys aren't familiar, my Uncle Steve came out to whitetail deer hunt. He's a big deer hunter in Oregon, and had only hunted like blacktail, but he'd been all over the world, to Africa, a bunch of different places, harvested all sorts of animals, but he'd never shot a whitetail. So in Brandon's quest of 50 and 50, we went to Oregon. Uncle Steve got him a real nice 3x fork, and then in return, he's like, "Come on out." And then Brandon put him in a stand and then shot a deer in front of him to where he couldn't get his first buck. So Brandon hasn't lived it down how he shot Uncle Steve's deer the first time he was out.
So that's not what happened, Brett. That's not what happened. So
I feel like I can shoulder this comfortably. Yeah.
In Missouri and in the Midwest,
Yeah, Brandon is
One
shouldering
person
it
gets in
comfortably,
one
too.
tree stand and stays there. The other person gets in another tree stand and stays there. I gave Uncle Steve the number one spot.
Clearly.
He was happy. He's been back every year since. He's coming back this year. He killed a nice buck last year. So we love him, and we're excited
It's a
he's
fun
coming
joke.
back. So it's a fun joke. Just like Shags eats brown trout, every way you can prepare them.
Yeah.
So, day 3 rolls in. We decide to go back to that same spot. It's the Dead Sea. I'm already planning my return trip this fall to hunt deer because when you buy your hunting tag, it comes with 2 antlered buck tags. So I am holding Martha's Vineyard buck tags. Anyways, like that's where my mind was. Like this isn't gonna work out. We're gonna be back deer hunting this fall. It's about 9 o'clock. We got 3 hours to go on the last day. Johnny's like, I got one more spot. It's 5 acres, but I've killed some deer there. It's back in the woods. I look at it on Onyx. It's like surrounded by a giant woods. I'm like, all right, man, let's go try it. What the hell? Maybe we can pull one in to this little opening. So we get there. We go down across this opening where he deer hunts. We sit down. We call. Nothing. I'm not exactly sure how many times we called or how long we sat there, but we called a couple of times, right? And then all of a sudden a turkey gobbled maybe 100 to 150 yards above us. So it was just, you're down to your last buck and you find $100 bill on the ground. You can't believe it just happened. So that turkey gobbles. We immediately move. I think it wasn't done gobbling and I was already running in its direction. We get up, we settle into this tree, not much bigger around than a coffee can. My back on one side, Johnny, his back on the other.
You're trying to stay thin.
Yeah. And sit down and call, and they just explode over this ridge. At least 5 or 6 different gobblers are going. You just turned sideways on us, Brett.
I don't know what happened. I don't think I
turn
did
your
anything.
phone over or something.
No.
Maybe you should.
Yeah, you're gonna have to do something.
I'm just sitting here.
Pick your phone up, and is it a phone or a computer?
Oh,
Now
Oh,
you're
now he's-
upside
All right,
down.
I'll hold it up.
Do that.
Upside down.
oh, there we go.
Oh, there he's back.
Hey, I'm holding my iPad. All right.
So now that this turkey gobbles, we run up there. All these turkeys are gobbling. I'm calling pretty aggressive to them. A hen pops up over the ridge. She walks to within 7 steps of us, jumps up on this rock, and just starts spinning in circles, kind of like Brett.
Oh, what's going on, bro? All right.
I felt like if I'd have swung my gun at her, I could have hit her. And I thought she was going to spook for sure, but
And I can't
She
see
didn't.
any of these. All I can hear her. I can hear this. I can hear Brandon's heart beating. But I'm looking the other way and don't dare turn around. I can just hear.
yeah, we sat statue still, and then she went back over. She did show herself one more time, but then they were just hung up. They just wouldn't come up over. It went on for probably 15 minutes, maybe a little bit longer even, of trying to call one of those gobblers up over the ridge. A few of them start drifting down the ridge. I'm thinking at this point of backing up, going around the ridge and cutting them off up at the top of this point. We don't have much more land to work with. Like that's where you miss the wide open expanses of public land. Like we had to pay real close attention at all times to the borders on Onyx. And so we decided, I decided I'm just going to sit, and then I see the back of a turkey, just the back. And I'm like, I wonder if that's that hint again. And then I just saw the fan came up over the ridge. My heart about leaped out of my chest. He came up in full strut, went behind a rock, not the same rock she was dancing on, a bigger one further back, maybe 20 yards. And as soon as he popped out, uh, I made him gobble, and I shot him while he was gobbling. And what's super
That's
cool
when
about
Brett
that?
jumped out of the woods and shot it in front of you.
Yeah, Brett was hiding behind a tree, and he's like,
Yeah.
my second one.
Meanwhile, while this is all going on, when they've gotten quiet, I'm on my phone texting another landowner trying to like a Hail Mary. Like we got another hour and a half. So I do not see once they've gone quiet. I don't realize there's a turkey close. So I was staring at my phone when the shotgun went off in my ear.
Yeah, there was no communication.
Yeah.
But the shotgun was my great grandfather's shotgun. Looked it up online. It says cannon breech on it. It appears to have been made by Stevens, most likely, or H&R, between the years of like 1910 and 1920, and was sold out of a store in St. Louis. So he is from the northwest corner of Tennessee by Reelfoot Lake, and somehow had this shotgun that he used to feed his 13 children, including my great grandmother.
Wow.
When he died, it went in 1964. It went to his son, his youngest son, my Uncle Chet. Now, my Uncle Chet was actually my grandfather's uncle, but he was 6 years younger than my grandfather. So he was more like my dad's uncle and a close uncle to me as well. His daughter got this gun upon his death in 2018, and then she gave it to me, in safekeeping as a family heirloom. And I intend to pass it on someday, but we suspect this gun hasn't hunted in 70 years. So I shot it here at home, made sure it worked. It's got the old hammer on it, a super long barrel, and it did the job. Shot a 2 3/4 inch out of
Great looking gun.
it. We're getting them settled.
Yeah.
So I couldn't believe how it turned around. What like an unbelievable, exciting
we had
culmination to my tag. But like Johnny said, we had some time left. He was already talking to the landowner. So we got the keys to maybe the most prime piece of land on the island, and went over there and went out into a pasture. I told Johnny, I said, when we go over the top of that hill, there's going to be a gobbler strutting in that field. And we went to the top of that hill and we looked down, and there was no gobbler strutting, but there was one walking away from us with his tail tucked and his head down. So we staked out the decoys, and let Johnny tell the story from there.
Yeah, we it's funny that we did surprise him because we were ready. We're like, oh, we'll probably spook one when we come over. And sure enough, it just happened about 30 seconds later than we thought. We took a few more steps, and oh, geez, we see one kind of. He was in a hurry. I suspect he knew something was back there. Kind of broke off to the left, but we had I'd say it's probably a 15, 20 acre field that we're looking at with a few mature trees and some of those huge rocks that Brandon's been talking about, the big glacial stones. We could still hear at least one, if not two, back in the woods down at the bottom of this property. So I had gone back to the truck to get the decoys anyway. I was glad we did, since we had them. We were out in the middle of this field, so there was no tucking really against the tree. So we staked the decoys and then leaned up against this big rock. So I don't know how we didn't stand out to him, because there were a couple of leafy things against a big gray rock. big gray rock. Yeah. Brandon let out a few soft yelps, and before long we had one come sneaking in from way away. He was trepidatious. He took his time getting there. He wasn't He wasn't sounding off though. It took him, well, from the video, I guess it took him about 5 minutes to walk from time Brandon spotted him. He's like, "Do you see him? Do you see him?" I'm like, "No, no." We're sitting so that there was a tree that I couldn't see him behind. About the time that I finally saw him, then Brandon lost sight of him. Yeah, he came right in. He wasn't. We weren't that close to the decoys. I'd say we were 20 yards out. I was using a 410 over under that that I'd won at a Ducks Unlimited raffle a few years ago. So I wasn't, and I never killed a turkey with, so I wasn't really wanting to stretch it too much, too much past that. I didn't wait for him to hammer off because I thought he was going to go back behind the tree, but he did strut for our decoys, and but I didn't relish in the moment too long. Before the shot, the relishing came after it. It was a good clean shot, and it felt great how it all came together after 3 days plus a day on the road of talking about how it might work, and then nothing went according to plan.
Well, that was the best part. Was Johnny's like, look, it's not going to be very hard, and even one landowner was like, well, that's not going to be very hard. and then it turned into turkey hunting, like, so at one point there's a street on the island called Music Street, and turkeys are just along this street as if somebody was growing chickens in their yard. And Johnny and I are coming back kind of right before sunset from somewhere, and this turkey was on the side of the street in front of this like white picket fence, trying to like look into the fence. So I get out and I start calling to this turkey, and he just starts walking right to me. Gets into the middle of the street. He's on the double yellow line, spitting and drumming, and he's got his wingtips down on the asphalt, and he's just dragging his wings on that asphalt, and it's making this incredible like hissing sound while he's just boom, and he's strutting in a circle. And he goes out into these. Were they tulips? They look like tulips.
Daffodils. Well, a couple cars went by, so we had to get off the road.
Yeah, so the turkey's like holding up traffic while some hillbilly from Missouri is like calling a turkey in the middle of the road and holding up traffic on Martha's Vineyard. But he was putting on a show, and I appreciated it. I hope they did too. Then he gets into that flower bed, so I get out my long 500 millimeter lens and just start calling to him. And then he's hammering, just gobbling in this flower bed while I'm taking photos of him. So it was so much fun, just the interaction with the birds. Then there was another one hanging out in like an art sculpture, like a yard sculpture area. I just started mouth yelping to that one, and he's just hammering. People are walking by, just making this turkey gobble in the yard. So it was like being a turkey wizard out there where nobody else is messing with them. You could control their minds. It was so much fun.
On that last day of the hunt, I didn't go on that third day because I had bagged out already. I don't know if you caught that part of the story, but
Shags is gonna love you, man.
But I was driving around and I was taking photos of turkeys like in front of the airport with like planes landing behind it, and like on the cars stopped because there's so many turkeys in the roadway. Yeah. I mean they're literally everywhere except where you need them.
So you go to Yellowstone and they have literature on how you shouldn't mess with the bison. Massachusetts actually prints literature on not messing with the turkeys because they're so populated there.
In not messing with them, like hunting them, or
no, like getting
like
too
feeding.
Close to the wildlife.
Oh, yeah, because that makes sense.
Like don't try to pet a turkey.
Right,
It'll spear you with its spurs.
Right.
What state was Benjamin Franklin from? Was he Philadelphia, Pennsylvania? He wanted the turkey to be the national bird. So wherever he grew up, wherever he was from, I think it was Philadelphia, wasn't it? Look at us. We'd all lose. Are you smarter than a fifth grader?
I know. I fail.
So, anyways, I suspect there's always been a good population of wild turkeys there. Now, in the Midwest, they killed them all, and we had to repopulate them. Like when I grew up in Indiana, there were no wild turkeys. Brett, has there always been wild turkeys as long as you've been out there?
Well, as long as I've been out here, but I think I did read that they were, brought over. The turkeys that we see now were brought over and bred here. Yeah. So I think the particular breed that we have was brought over, just like a lot of other things.
Yeah, they were
Like
restored from somewhere else, so they probably killed them all off the island at some point, or maybe they never made it that far out.
yeah, I mean it's there's stories of a lot of different animals. I mean, of course, we don't even have like coyotes. Well, I mean, we have a few coyotes that probably swam over or ended up in someone in a truck or something and ended over from the mainland. We have muskrat and otter, but we have raccoons and skunks, but we're missing a lot of a lot of the animals that they have, even just over on the mainland. Yeah, so when they, again, this island has a hunting history, so I'm sure people brought it over
Native
to have
species,
more.
though. If you go back to the time of just the tribe, um, did they have white-tailed deer there at that time? Did they have turkeys there before white settlers?
I
The deer swim.
Yeah, I
They
mean,
make
yeah
the turkey.
and a
there have
turkey
been
flies,
deer for sure.
so they
Yeah.
could both have been there. Well, either way, I know what you do have that I'm not messing with, and that's sharks. This is where Jaws was filmed. And both of these guys and my new friend Glenn, the fish market owner, this guy, I told him, Shags, it's a seafood restaurant, like a walk up where they'll prepare your fresh seafood and then you got to take it to go or go outside and eat it. But also like a seafood ice down chest where you buy fresh fish and scallops and oysters and all the good stuff, paired with an ice cream shop. So it's like I said, this is if there's like a strip mall in heaven, this is going to be the first one in my personal strip mall. So we'd go down there and get fish sandwiches and ice cream. But everybody attests that the Great White, it's not just fake. It's not just a movie. Like there are a lot of great whites there. I'm not going in that water above my toenails. So Johnny,
I would guess. I don't know the facts, but I do know a couple guys that are shark experts, and Brett I'm sure does too. I think we probably have the largest conglomeration of white sharks outside of the Farallon Islands in the lower 48, right? Just off the Cape. I mean, it's a large. There's a lot of them. Shark Week is filmed on Cape Cod, a lot of it, and the waters surrounding around our island. I thought you were going to say skunks when you said there's one thing you're not going to mess with. So, I'll take spotting a great white in the wild over a skunk close proximity.
I almost got skunk sprayed in Johnny's backyard. Like something was rustling around in the leaves, and I was sitting out at the like picnic table kind of after it was dark, and I'm just sitting there. I don't know what I was looking at my phone, hanging out, and I hear rustling in the leaves. I'm thinking that's got to be a squirrel, but squirrel should be up in the trees right now. And what the heck is this? I turned my flashlight on, and like 3 feet away is a skunk just staring at me. Then I scurried like a cat, like it just sprung out of that chair.
There's a lot of them.
Lived back under the barn. So I think Johnny needs to call the skunk man. There's a guy on the island called the Skunk Man, and he's got a Skunk Man pickup truck. So you could trade him a few of those new sandwiches for a skunk removal. You guys could barter.
They're, probably the same reason the turkeys are so prolific. The skunks are also prolific here as well, and I don't think they're native to here, right, Brett? Skunk. Somebody brought them. I think we hear the story that the people that brought them are still here, right? That they're relatively new, but they don't have the predators. We don't have fox. We don't have coyotes. Nobody really wants to go near them, except the one guy.
Just hawks, hawks and crows. They get hit. The crows eat them, or the hawks will take them. But there's enough rabbits to keep the hawks busy. So
people say the American dream is dead. There's opportunity everywhere. Just look at the skunk man of Martha's Vineyard. Like, solve people's problems. That's all you got to do.
Make a living, man.
That's
Yeah,
right.
all
you can
good.
go to Martha's Vineyard and live in paradise if you're just willing to be the skunk man.
Yep.
I'm not.
And there's enough skunks there that you could be like, the skunk man's competition. Every McDonald's needs a Burger King.
Oh, that's too funny.
Talk Johnny a little bit about the food on the island. We ate at a place, State Road,
Yep.
and I had a hanger steak. So did Brett.
Yes,
Johnny
sir.
had a vegetable plate. That was like the only thing. That was the only questionable thing on the whole trip. But that restaurant was amazing. The whole food scene just seems, top notch.
Well, we don't have fast food here, or at least we don't have fast food chains. We don't have any of the big box stores out there's not a McDonald's or Hardee's. We have a Dairy Queen because it was here before. I guess that we decided that wasn't. I don't know if it's a law or bylaw, whatever it is, that we don't have chains here. But we got a lot of people that. It's an amazing farming community. Like the soil out here, you can be an accidental farmer. You can I'll find a great, beautiful tomato plant back by my trash cans, because a seed fell out of something. The soil here is pretty incredible. Anybody that plants anything, has a green thumb out here. So there's a lot of amazing farms and a lot of demand for it. You got a lot of great chefs doing a lot of great things. People appreciate that farm to table aspect. We got, like I said, the world class seafood at our doorstep. So it's a great place to eat. It's a great place to cook. And yeah,
So-
go ahead.
No, well, we know you do the catering, but you're sitting in your shop. Explain a little bit of what the shop is. Are you just catering full time, or out of your little? Is it a deli? What is it?
This is an expansion of Revel Catering Events has been in existence out here since 2020 in Missouri. We started in 2013. Having shuttered Missouri this past year, I was looking for a bigger place here and something a little more sustainable for year-round living. So I found this kitchen and this little shop. So we're offering platters and kind of gourmet groceries and a lot of handmade stuff. We've got bratwurst, and we do a lot of cheese and charcuterie platters and that sort of thing. Sandwich specials, make our own bread. So I made 230 some English muffins today that I'm not sure what the heck I'm going to do with.
Mini pizzas. I do it all the time.
There you go. So yes, it is a shop, and we will have a public interface where people can come in. It's not a restaurant so much. We don't have any table service. There's just some benches on our front porch here. We're right on kind of on the main drag, down island, sort of downtown, not too far from the boat. So this place, we have Revel Catering Events that operates out of the back of here, which is a busy catering company, and then Revel Galleon Provisions is our new venture here. So a little bit of shopping, some sandwich menu and pop-ups and dinner specials, grab and go kind of stuff. And I've only been open a week, so I couldn't, maybe in a year I'll be able to tell you how it went, what we did right, what we did wrong. But
What'd you think of my idea of the little Wolfgang Puck pizza oven I sent you?
I've seen, that's a guy from Missouri, a guy
That made that?
that created that oven. Yeah.
Oh man, I
Guy
think
went
there's
to high
something
school. He's based in Texas now.
you could do, like the pizza of the week. Make up 100 of them, keep them on refrigerated, and just pop them in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Sell them for $30.
I
Whatever you pay for something in Missouri, you can double it almost. I think out there,
Yeah.
it's pretty close to that, right?
including the ingredients to make it and the labor.
Yep. Well, Brett and I were talking about the cost of.
The rent's quadruple.
Well, the cost of construction is about $1,000 a square foot.
Yeah.
It's about 120 here in Missouri to build a house. Maybe, depending on the house, between 120 to $200 a square foot. In Martha's Vineyard, it starts at about $1,000 a square foot.
That's about
But
right.
you get what you pay for, man. Like that's
It's an island. It's not,
Yep.
if it were easy, everybody would do it, right?
that's exactly right. Like if it were, that's what you're protecting with that high price. I totally get it.
Yeah, it just costs a lot. Everything that's here has got to come on a boat. And somebody's got to put it on that boat. Somebody's got to drive that boat, and somebody's got to take it off and bring it to the site. Yeah, it
Well,
is.
this isn't something that we've been saying lately, but Johnny's a pilot and I'm a pilot. Years ago, Brett, it used to be a drinking game. I don't drink anymore, so we don't do drinking games as
Right.
much. But uh, Shags, if he said how tall he was, if I said I'm a pilot, listeners had to take a shot. Because Shags is like 6'8". You can't maybe tell them sitting there.
Thank you for noticing. Yes.
So for those longtime listeners, that's 2 shots you got to take right now.
Paddle Don's out there getting wasted
He's
right now.
like, I've been waiting a year and a half for this.
I think we did pretty good. We just went an hour without the pilot word too.
Yes, Johnny's,
You
Johnny's
just
a
made up
pilot,
for it.
and he's got a plane out there on the island. Talk about how cool that. And this is where, sadly, this is where JFK Jr. went down, and Johnny showed me kind of what he thinks, happened there, and how you can look out at the ocean and the horizon blurs, like the sky and the ocean just blend. You can't tell where one starts and the other one stops. And that's kind of how he went down, supposedly. But talk about piloting around out there and how cool that is to fly around all those Elizabeth Islands and such.
It is pretty amazing to be able to. I wish I did it more. Seems like on all the nice days, like beautiful day today that I was in the shop all day. I should have been flying, but I learned to fly out here on a little grass strip on the far eastern side of the island, which is an amazing way to learn to fly. That's why I wound up owning a tail dragger, what most people equate to a bush plane, because I learned on the dirt and bumpy grass strips out here. It's a great thing. It's beautiful. I love nothing more than just flying around this place at 1,000 feet up. We're so used to seeing the shape of Martha's Vineyard. It's on bumper stickers and logos, and we're all looking at maps all the time, and it's very familiar. We see it all the time. To go up just 1,000 or 1,200 feet over and to see the shape alive, to see the green trees that you sort of see swaying or see a car moving across that shape is striking because it's such a familiar shape to us. To actually see it, we never see the United States like. You can't, when you're flying over Missouri, you don't see the state line, so but it's neat to fly over this place. We see, you'd love it, Brandon. We can see sharks in the water. I've been up there seeing sharks off the east end between here and Nantucket. We have a little tiny spit of land that we call Seal Island, unofficially, but sharks hang out there. And I'd be lying if I didn't say I do question sometimes the whole single engine thing. I've flown back and forth in Nantucket a handful of times. Good thing about it. But there's a few small places you can land if an engine did quit. There's a few small islands, but yeah, it's a pretty amazing thing here. I've had some friends come to visit sometimes that can't make it, into Boston. They'll tell them to fly into Providence, and we've gone to pick up people, which is a neat way to welcome somebody to Martha's Vineyard, to pick them up in a small plane and fly them over.
I like that you made Brandon drive from Missouri.
He tried for like 3 years to find ways for me not to get there, and he's like, dude, I got to drive. I was like, I'm in. It's like, shit, there goes my reputation on the island.
Oh,
that was a great drive. It was an easy drive.
Yep.
Except for that rain cloud. It wasn't an easy drive. Why did I say that? Like,
that was crazy.
It was a horrible drive. It went fast though. Like,
it did seem like a cartoon where the little car is moving along and the little cloud is just following.
Yeah.
Because it was. I picked you up in St. Louis around noon, I think, a little after noon, 1 o'clock, and it rained till 6 o'clock the next morning on us, torrential.
And I don't know what's going on in Ohio, but get it together. I mean, your roads are unbelievable. Like the roads through Ohio, it's like whoever is got the government contract on those concrete road dividers in Ohio could probably buy the Bass Islands out there, like Put-in Bay and all of it, because there's a gazillion miles of roads divided by those dividers.
Oh man, it's the same thing coming from the West Coast. I just drove from Classic, Oregon to Columbia, Missouri, and part of Utah, all of Wyoming, and all of Nebraska was under road construction. I mean, it was, and the roads are terrible.
Man, I just got my Utah draw back today. I got nothing. 0. There's still a general deer that I'm in for, but and I could likely draw that, but I wanted a bull tag out there so bad. I put hours into studying these applications just to see which one might give me a fraction more percentage chance of drawing something, and zilch. It was like antelope, elk, mule deer, moose, bighorn sheep, desert sheep. Like I have, most of them are miracles you'll never even draw, but you play enough miracle draws, you hit one once in a while. And I was really counting on Utah this year, but nope.
Well, you got a miracle drive. Was it in Wyoming?
Montana.
Montana. Oh, that's where you got
Montana with the moose. Yeah, that was amazing. But miracle as in I sent them $150 a year for 18 years to stay in the draw. So it was like, yeah. And then they got another like 1,500 for the tag or something when I got it. So, but worth every penny.
Did you apply for the Missouri elk tag this year?
Oh yeah. Yep.
And Kentucky.
Kentucky
nice.
elk. So I went Maine moose, which I've got 6 points there. Kentucky doesn't do points, but I've applied every year since it opened, like 2008, 2009. Bill Conway drew a cow tag in Kentucky last year and didn't get one. I'm in everything in Utah, sheep and goat in Montana, collecting antelope, deer, and elk points in Colorado, but in the draw for sheep, moose, goat, in for everything in Nevada. And then just a couple more like miracle ones out there, other stuff.
Man, I forgot to do Colorado again.
You're just gonna have to go pack meat.
I'll just go out there and fish.
There you go.
I'll be all right with that.
Carry meat on your back on a backpack.
Well, we can't get you guys out of here without the mystery bait bucket. That's how we wrap up every podcast. Brett, what you see here is a vintage antique bucket that we got from the Midway Antique Mall. And we ask for questions. So listeners, the podcast, fans, family, friends, it doesn't matter. If you want to ask a question that we'll all go around and answer, you can email info@driftwoodoutdoors.com, or you can send us a message on Facebook and Instagram, Driftwood Outdoors, or leave one in the comments on YouTube, Driftwood Outdoors TV. Very rarely does it have anything to do with the outdoors, but this one comes from Linda Robinson, asking, what's a simple pleasure in life that you'll never get tired of? I can tell you mine off the top of my head. I mean, I know we're talking turkeys here, but I'm the big fisherman. Just the sound of line being pulled off a reel will always make me feel like a kid again, and just I giggle and I love it. It brings me such joy, and it's such a silly little thing, but just hearing that line come off a reel when you've hooked into a nice fish, just even me describing it, just like a big warm hug all through my body. It gives me tingles. I love it.
What do they say? The tug is the drug, right?
Yeah, 100%.
For me, I had it this morning, kind of hit home. So yesterday, my youngest daughter, Annabelle, had her last day of high school. So I'm kind of right behind Brett. No kids in high school all of a sudden. Like, holy shit, how did that happen? Like they brought this morning, they brought the kindergartners out of the elementary school and the seniors, and they lined them up across from each other, and they had them march to the middle of the football field and then hold hands, and they came up and played some songs with the class of 2025 and the class of like 2039 maybe.
Right.
And you think about that gap of time and you're like, shit, like that's a lot of time between now and then. And then you look at your kid and she's down there graduating and that's the last one. But the moment was when she looks for you and then she finds you. And the moment her eyes find you, she breaks into a smile. And then like you did a pretty good job because your kid's down there on the field. She's looking for you. She finds you. The sight of when, like if you're in a position where your child looks at you and smiles, you're a pretty good mom or dad, and just that little moment today, I recognized like my kid's graduating. She's happy. this whole like raising up a human to not need you anymore is the worst deal in the history of deals. Like
It's true.
it's the
It's true.
worst.
It's true.
But I know Brett, you did a great job. I feel like I did a good job. But I want my child to look at me and smile when she sees me, both of them, for the rest of my life.
Very cool.
All right, Johnny or Brett?
For me, it generally comes back to food, and it's not just the making or eating it, but the interactions I get with people. And we had one today. There was a lady that came in here, and she her husband has not been well, and she said, we've been following your food for a long time. She's like, I'm so happy that you're here. We used to eat when you worked here and when you were the chef there. And she mentioned a few things over the years, and this is not a woman I knew, so it just made me when I get to have that interaction with people that the food is part of a memory, and for the most part that's what catering is. I get to be there for the good times and in someone's life, and generally the happy times, and it's a very strong tie to memory. The olfactory sense and the sense of taste tie so strongly to memories. So I don't want to say blessed because I feel like the word is overused, but I am blessed with a skill that I can use and interact with so many people on so many different occasions on a given day.
Yeah.
Never gets old.
If I ever have Bruce Willis money, I'm hiring Johnny to live with me.
It's a good
Brett, you
idea.
got 2 open rooms, dude. We can figure this out.
I got more than that. I mean, there's room for party here.
I'll kill the food. Johnny can cook the food. You supply the house. Like there's meaningful relationships being formed here.
Or I can just kill the food before you get it. It seems to,
Like you're saying I don't even have to have a job? Like I'm in.
All right, Brett, what's a simple pleasure in life that you'll never get tired of?
Oh boy. I guess, well, following up, I mean, I'm lucky enough to have a grandson who's excited to go fishing now. So,
Yeah.
I've got to, I've got to share this island with my kids, and they all love it for different reasons and different parts about it, but they all want to come home, which I think is probably, that's something that I'll always be appreciative about, is that no matter where they live, they'll always feel like this is home. And, to be able to have that and have that excitement to come back, and whether it's to go to the beach or to go fishing or to go hunting, or just be with friends, that having a place that everybody has in common and wants to share with their friends. I have a son in college, and he tuna fishes and hunts. He does a lot of the stuff that I enjoy, and he wants to share that experience with his friends. Last summer he got a big beautiful tuna, and we had 40 college people over here having sushi, and my daughter likes to come home for the weekends to just be here and be with the dogs and be in her own house, and to have a place that's special for different ages, different people, but all for a common reason. I think it's the reason why I live here. It was the reason why I love the things that I do. But that's something special, and to be able to share that with other people, it's really the best. It makes bigger family.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. All right, the final thought, the final cast of the pod.
Well, I'll go back to how this started. Like Martha's Vineyard, it surprised me. I went there pretty sure I was gonna feel like an outsider, and if I had the money, I'd move there. I'd definitely have a place there. I could follow Johnny from Missouri because it's the 36th state that I've accomplished, and it is very surprising to me that I'll put this hunt in the top 5 without a question. Like the way it worked out, the friendships that were made, the welcoming team-like feeling of it, the surprise of the environment, the beauty of the landscape. Oh, did you give the turkey fan to the waitress?
Not yet. I did take the freezer though. I will.
Like the people were interested in what we were doing. The
Yeah,
people. So our
absolutely.
waitress, her name was Vicky,
Yep.
right? Yeah,
Yep.
she ties fly, Shags. So the deal is if I shot a turkey, she would take the feathers and send flies. So yeah, like people were. I didn't expect to have that conversation with my waitress on Martha's Vineyard, and I did, and it was amazing. Everything was amazing. Johnny, thank you
Hey,
so much. Brett, the hospitality, man, above and beyond. Very grateful. Thank you.
thank you for
Well,
making it out. Shags, you're next.
yeah, I want to, especially talking about all this fly fishing for stripers. Like I am 100% down. I'm already thinking in my head like which rods I'm going to take, and I'm already there fishing with you guys. So we'll
Can we get a
definitely
team in the Derby, Johnny? Can we get a Driftwood team in the Derby?
Sure.
Yeah.
that could be a lot of fun.
Yep. 8 weight, 9 weight, be all right.
But Johnny, always great seeing you, and Brett.
Likewise.
Brett, the same thing. Nice to meet you. But when you go through here, if there's any social media or any website you guys want to mention, be sure to do it, and I'll put it in the show notes as well. And Johnny, off air, I'll shoot you a text because I got to get your address. I'm going to send your girlfriend's daughter some Cult of Shags
Oh, okay.
swag and some Casey and Q apparel, since she liked the show so much, and get that to you guys. But thanks for taking the time, man. This was a real fun podcast.
Hey, I appreciate you guys, and thanks for making the trip, and we'll see you both again soon.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Sure.
All right. Thank you, fellas.
All right, gear review coming up next. Brandon, into the podcast, the beginning of a gear review. What are you reviewing for us today?
My cigar travel case. So I got this for Christmas. I went out there. Brett said he had cigars. I was like, hey, I actually brought my own. So you already gave me a bed. I don't need to smoke your stogies too. So I travel with my little.
I bet he had better ones than you did, though.
Well, it actually has my shells in it from Martha's Vineyard. So I had that in there. But it's got a little. Put a few droplets of water on there. You got a little humidity. It's a great little travel case. You get 6 or 8 good cigars in there. You can take them anywhere you go. Paddle Don actually turned me on to it. Credit where credit is due. So get yourself a little travel cigar humidor.
Well, for mine, I get to unveil this to you, Brandon, because mine's at the Polish Embassy. I left it down there. But I got to give a shout out to Mike Revel and Mario Lozian. I'm going to pronounce his name wrong. Lozina. I always just call him Mario from LOZ.
Mario.
Yeah, Mario from LOZ Lures. But I'm doing a really good job giving them a shout out here, aren't I? They made us custom rods. Mario did the artwork on the rod there, and it says Missouri Supports Hall of Fame.
Wow, that one's mine.
That one's yours with the Driftwood
Wow.
with the Driftwood logo and your name on that. It's a 6-foot
Dang.
jigging rod, and I spent the weekend down on the river we no longer speak of using it, and it is amazing. You're going to love it. The action on it, and it's just beautifully done, and I feel really bad for mispronouncing Mario's name so poorly. So, Mike, Mario, appreciate all the hard work you did on that.
Well, we'll get it right when they come on the podcast again real soon to talk about it. But, man, before we go, I got to give a great shout out to our friend from Co-Angler. John called me today, and he said, man, I got to tell you, I was down to getting a job. Like, Co-Angler was going to have to go, to a side project. He said, it was just not getting there, and which is the fear of any startup, of course. But he had told us during the podcast that he was in that competition for a grant, and he got it. He ended up 3rd place out of hundreds of like tech startup companies. Guys, this is a guy we know that started an app. He hates this, but it's like a dating app for fishermen. You find a co-angler, you put your data in there, like where you want to fish, what you're willing to do. Somebody else matches with you, and people go fishing together. That's oversimplifying it, but that's what it does. It creates fishing buddies. I'm not going to disclose his deal, but he called me and said, like, he was down on his knees praying for this, and he got 3rd place. It's 6 figures. He called his buddy back and was like, thank you for the job. I'm not showing up on Monday. I've got a few years of runway ahead of me now.
That's
So
awesome.
I'm so happy for him, man. Like, we gotta keep helping him plug Co-Angler. Go to the app, check it out. Maybe there'll be a Martha's Vineyard trip out there for you.
It happens a lot out here. That's a great idea.
It is a great idea. It's a great app, man. I can't wait to do it myself. So
Swipe right.
congratulations. Congratulations, buddy. We'll see you down the trail.